3 is a roll call, please.
Bowman,
Here.
Stelling, Beer,
Here.
Brooks,
Here.
Winters,
Here.
Dowling,
Here.
Swallow,
Here.
Martin.
Here. Item 4, discussion and action to authorize the city manager to exceed the $25,000 spending limit to fix a water leak and restore service. Go ahead.
So yesterday morning, we determined that we had a leak on our 8-inch service line that services the rural water district number 1 to Catherine. I guess to give a little bit of history here, about 2 years ago, when we were renegotiating rates with the rural water districts, it was negotiated that within a 3-year period, rural water district number 1 would move their meter inside city limits so they could take advantage of a different water rate structure or water rate fee schedule, and then they would take over the line from the meter on. Essentially, that's how it works. You know, once you're on your side of the meter, that becomes your responsibility. We negotiated that over a 3-year period so that they could install a new service line for their water district. And so that's been the plan. Approximately a month or so ago, one of the board members came to me and they wanted to renegotiate that, an extension to that contract. They've bid that water line out. Obviously, given the circumstances with everything that's going on, that came in way over what they were anticipating the cost to be. And so they've been working to renegotiate that and get that project started. There is a possibility they would still meet in that time frame. However, they had asked for an extension in the event that would take longer than possible. So we start talking about that, I think, in Finance Committee, and it's on the agenda for the next Water Wastewater Committee meeting. We just haven't had that meeting yet. We were actually supposed to have that yesterday, and knowing our engineer was going to be here today, we had moved that meeting. I don't think we have it scheduled yet, or no, maybe it's the 16th. I don't know. We're working to reschedule that meeting, but we wanted to meet with the engineers first to have some updates on the other projects that we have going on. And so on the list of things to be discussed. So yesterday morning, we determined that we have a leak on this 8-inch line. Previously, we had also used the 12-inch line. About a year ago, there was a leak on the 12-inch line. And so after kind of in the same situation that we're in now, not being able to fix the leak on that 12-inch line, decision was made between the Catherine Water District personnel and our staff to cap that line and not use it for the time being and just utilize the 8-inch line, knowing that this line, the new line, was going to be laid within that 3-year time frame. So right now, the issue with the 8-inch line is when it was bored very deep. I don't know the reason it was bored so deep, but right now what we're having an issue with is getting to the line. We're trying to get all the dirt and sand scooped out of it, but right now it's just filling in with water faster than we can get to it. So coincidentally, with Myers being scheduled to be here today, for some other things, after we got those things discussed and taken care of, we went out to the job site. And we're just, it's a pretty not fun situation. We just can't get to the water line, basically, to get it fixed. My understanding that the hole in the water line is not very big, but we can't get to it to get it fixed. And so what was suggested by our engineer was, it sounds like the guys had been talking about it prior to us getting there as well, but is using that 12-inch line. It's an old cast iron line. It's 90 years old, and it goes across the water on top of the water, not underneath the water. Not underneath the river, excuse me. And so what the thought process is to take 8-inch poly line, push it through the 12-inch line, use that as a sleeve, basically, to get it across the river, basically. About 200 feet from the river is where a valve is on either side of the river. And so the thought process is to be able to use that 12-inch line to run that poly from valve to valve. We may not have to go all the way from valve to valve, but that's our plan, is to get it there at least have enough from valve to valve, which is about 1,000 feet. I have, within my spending limit, was able to go ahead and get the line, the 8-inch poly line on its way. We found a supplier that had 1,000 feet of line. They could have it here. They were able to move some things around and have it here in the morning. It's about I think it's $13.61 a foot is what it is. I went ahead and made that decision because I feel like we've got to get water restored back to Capron. And if that's the easiest solution or the quickest solution, then that's what we need to do. And so in talking to our engineer, we have a company who we worked with in the past. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know the company's name. I just know the contact person's name, and I apologize for that. They are going to be able to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning and look at the situation and determine if they're going to be able to do that, push that line through that 12-inch, poly line through the 12-inch cast iron line. If they can have a crew here hopefully by noon tomorrow to get that process started and hopefully get that done and potentially restore service back tomorrow night. That's about as quick as it can. The costs, it's a minimum of $30,000 just to get that crew here tomorrow morning, basically. So obviously that's over my spending limit, and so that's where we're coming here today to talk to you guys about that. At $30,000 is the low end, and that doesn't include the cost of the pipe. That's just getting the crew here and getting the process started because of the emergency nature of the situation. And so I'm here to give you guys the information and let you guys make a decision on what we need to do. I guess on a side note, currently we are working with Ethan Fiddler from the Emergency Management Office. So we're working to get pallets of water stationed in Capron. We're opening up our water crane here, so anybody who wants to come and just get bulk water in a for animals or whatever they need to, they can come. We're going to have water stationed here at the fire department as well for the customers that are closer to us than Capron. So we're just working to get bottled water for them in the meantime. They depleted the water in their water tower sometime this morning and had to shut that off so we didn't burn up their pumps. But I think it's intermittent, depending on where they're at in the line. I know one of our employees, she took a shower this morning and didn't have any issues, and she's on their line, but she was potentially I don't know how all that works, but I know that there could be customers that have been without water since last night as well. So it sounds like maybe that was
Joe Surface at the far end, at the very end, has this morning at about 8:30 had about a pencil lead stream of water coming out of his faucet.
So, and it's possible, our plan is to continue trying to get to that line, and it's possible in the meantime we could get that line patched and get it going, but my opinion is we have to have an alternate solution if that doesn't work.
So Rick, the way this agenda item is worded is a motion to authorize, as this is worded, is that adequate because of the circumstances?
You won't have technically you won't have a cap on that. That may be something you want to discuss in here, whether you want to have a cap.
My argument against the cap is going to be, it is what it is. We have to restore service, whatever that takes. My concern is that we're putting this new line in, and they have intent to replace that line in its entirety. When this line is installed, is it then going to be discarded by us in the future when the line's replaced? Is it retrievable that we could use it down the line?
Yeah. So ultimately, it's my understanding that when we do that, they take over the service, all service lines. I have not looked at the agreement. Rick, do you remember that agreement? I can pull it. I think it's actually sitting on my desk. But when I talked to the board member, he said he was actually out there at the site as well earlier this afternoon. That all becomes theirs essentially, and so it would be an alternate line that they could have in the event they would have issues with their service line later on. So it's still a viable option. It's still something that can be used. If he is correct in how the agreement was written, it becomes their service, their line essentially at that point in time. So.
I mean, we don't really have a leg to stand on, but is there any, was there any discussion with them in regards to assisting with any of the cost of restoring the service with that?
So their staff has been on site, and they've been helping. They've been there the entire time we've been there. As far as with this cost, that's not been discussed. I mean, I can have that conversation. It wasn't, I mean, as it sits right now, it's our service line.
Right.
So
It's the same. We don't really have a leg to stand on.
I've had discussions with them about, you know, is this something that they agree with, disagree with, don't want to see, do want to see, just because we need their cooperation. You know, they're working with us too, but I just, you know, we haven't had that conversation, Daniel.
You said they're looking at pushing the pipe through the 12-inch, or they know they can? They don't, do they know or do they not know?
Based on Myers Engineering, they believe that we can. I mean, he's been there, he's seen the line, he believes
So they
it to
believe
be-
they can. What happens if they can't? What happens to all that pipe?
Well, we can use that
Okay,
pipe, we
okay.
can use it, we can sell it.
Okay.
It's not going to go to waste,
Okay,
Sadie.
okay.
Um,
I just would hate to get all of it and then they say, oh, we tried and now we can't do it, then we have to do another backup plan.
Yeah, Russell, I mean, we may still have to come
Okay.
back with another solution. I'm not
Okay.
saying that we
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
But as it sits right now, that pipe can be used for other
Okay.
things.
So the pipe could be reused where, you said it's a minimum of $30,000 to get that crew out here in the morning. This work doesn't get performed, can't be performed, we're still out the $30,000?
They're coming to look at it first and make a decision if they think
Before
they
the
can do
crew.
it or not.
Okay, so we
Okay.
won't be
But to-
paying the,
But to get the crew here, they say, yes, we can do this, that's when our cost would start. Their foreman and the owner of the company, they're coming to look at it tomorrow morning, regardless.
and I know time crunch, but is there other options? Is there, as far as the service crew?
There could be. There could be other people out there. So since Bill was here, while Russell and Drake were busy working, he was making phone calls for us, and this was the crew that he could get here, someone here tomorrow, with the ability to have a crew here tomorrow as well. We can keep calling and seeing if there's other options, but we have worked with this company before. I can't remember the name of the company, and I apologize. They've done one of the more recent projects for us before.
Where are they out of?
I knew you were asking that. I think somewhere near the city, but I don't know that for sure. I can get those details to you. I just don't have them in front of me.
That's
I think it's Cobalt
understandable.
Construction that we've used
I
before.
thought Cobalt was out of Woodward, and
See,
they
I
did
think
the
so too, but I-
line by Walmart.
But I know that they've had some changeover in that company, and so I don't know if it's the exact same crew.
Or if
If it's the way that it sounded is maybe they were out of like Oklahoma City area. So
If it is Cobalt, I mean, they did a really nice job for us, so,
Yes.
and we're reasonably priced, so.
So if this fails, if we approve this the way it's written, to allow the manager to exceed the $25,000, she would not have to come back to us if running the poly through the 12-inch line didn't work. She could go ahead and go to the next option that's going to get water restored.
and I don't know what that is at this point in time. I mean,
Well, hopefully it'll work.
I still contend back to the argument that it really doesn't, I mean, unfortunately, the reality is it doesn't matter what it takes, it's gotta get done. Whether that's $250,000 or $10,000. Obviously, we don't want it to be any more than it has to be, but we're
and I will be. I mean, my intent always is to communicate with you guys as much as possible. I will, as soon as I know what's going on, I can send out text messages. I didn't do a good job of that today. It's been kind of a crazy day with everything. It's kind of been a moving target and a changing situation, but I can send out a text message and let you guys know what's going on. And when I do that, I try to do that one at a time so we don't get responses back and forth and potentially violate open meetings. But I can let you guys know what's going on and keep you in the loop as much as possible.
I got a silly question. Can that infrastructure money be used to do this?
So I actually had a conversation with Neil about that money, this could go towards our match as far as the money that we've put in to our infrastructure when
We
we're
can
applying for
reimburse
grant.
it for.
Well, it can't be reimbursed, but we can use it for grants. Well, and the money that we've already received, yes, it could go for this.
Because Everett Water District would be part of any concerted effort for the water project grants for our four-county area.
That actually makes this not so burdensome feeling. I hadn't thought about that money, so.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion?
You may.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to exceed $25,000 spending limit to fix a water leak and restore service.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Bowman and a second by Mr. Winters to authorize the city manager to exceed the $25,000 spending limit to fix a water leak and restore service. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Bowman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Dowling,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
Swallow. Yes. Brooks,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
All right, get to work. We're adjourned.
Okay.